Well, thank you. It's really nice to see all of you, and thank you, Ben, for that nice introduction. It's an honor to be part of this event and to lend Montana's voice to this forum. I would especially like to thank Kelly Barstate and Phoebe Vargas for their help in my presentation. So just a little bit about Montana. Let's see. Oops, wrong slide. There we go. We'll start with that one. So Montana is also one of America's most rural states. And we have an average population density of about 7 people per square mile. 45 of our 56 counties are classified by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as frontier. Now, I'm not sure if the other folks that have mentioned frontier are actually classified as frontier, but in Montana, we're classified as frontier. And of those 45 counties, they average less than 3 people a square mile. So to just put that in a little bit of perspective, in Washington, D.C., the population density is 10,400 people per square mile. So things are a little bit different in Montana. However, despite the fact that we don't have a lot of population, our economy is growing. Our employment and wages and our economic activity are on the rise. And for the last several years, Montana has ranked at or near the top of the Kauffman Index of Entrepreneurship. However, most of the economic growth has been concentrated in 5 counties. And as you can see from the map, 4 of those counties are in the western part of the state. They fall between Glacier National Park to the north and Yellowstone National Park to the south. And 2 of them actually border. One borders Yellowstone National Park, Gallatin County, and Flathead County borders Glacier National Park. Many of Montana's rural counties and tribal nations, however, are struggling to create jobs and losing their population. Rural communities are looking for ways to diversify their economy beyond what has been the driving force in their economy for so many years, and that of agriculture, ranching, and mining. The creative industries have become an important part of that mix, providing more than 15,000 jobs for many Montana workers. And as chair of the Montana Arts Council, I have seen firsthand the difference that the arts can make in rural communities. So let's talk about Fort Peck. Fort Peck is a little town with 233 full-time residents. Fort Peck, just to give you an idea, it's 40 miles west of the North Dakota border and 50 miles south of the Canadian border. So it's tucked up there in the corner of Montana. They have a community theater in Fort Peck, excuse me, I gotta grab a little water here, that they call the Jewel of the Prairie. And this year it will celebrate its 50th anniversary. Originally, it was built as a silent movie theater for the folks that worked on the dam. And in the 70s, it was converted into a live theater in the middle of nowhere. So they were bringing live Montana theater to a little place in Montana that had never had this before. Today, this theater is the soul of the community. It has great educational programs for kids, and it engages people from all around the area to get involved in acting and set designing and technical, helping with their technical staff. These shows also attract audiences from all around the nation. On the other side of the state, in a little town called Big Fork, which is at the southern end of Glacier National Park, that town has about 4,200 people, and every year it has a festival that attracts about 6,000 people. So the economic impact of that is not only good for the artists and the musicians, but it's also good for the hotels and the restaurants and other businesses in that community. These cultural activities are significant for small communities because arts audiences spend, on average, about $31 per event beyond their admissions, which adds to the bottom line of their entire economy. And I want to tell you about one of my other favorite festivals. This is a festival called Red Ants Pants. It was the creation of a woman named Sarah Calhoun, who makes trousers for women, really sturdy trousers for women that are working on the ranches. Red Ants Pants is held in a little town of White Sulphur Springs, Montana. Population, 925 year-round residents. It's held in a cow pasture. There are no trees, there's no water. It is a big cow pasture. The very first Readiness Pants, the headliner was Lyle Lovett. Emmylou Harris has been to Readiness Pants, Dwight Yoakam, this year Patty Griffith. I don't miss a Readiness Pants. I take off that mayor hat and I put on a different hat and I enjoy Readiness Pants. What I want to tell you really about Readiness Pants, last year, 18,000 people. Now, if you don't think that has an impact on a little community of 925, at first they were just like, oh my gosh, right? But now they know, they prepare, and it's really, really marvelous. It's about a 3-day festival, and if anybody wants any more info, I'd be happy to tell you about it. In Bozeman, we recognize that arts contribute to our high quality of life, and that high quality of life is what's really driving our growth. Creativity and culture are one of the 7 pillars in our new city strategic plan that we just passed about 7 months ago. Helps when you have a mayor who's for the arts, right? We know that arts contribute not only to attracting and retaining new businesses, but also attracting a skilled workforce. They foster an innovative economy and they enrich our culture, making Bozeman a distinct destination. Not only has Bozeman been ranked the 4th most artistically vibrant micropolitan community in the nation, according to the National Center of Arts and Research at Southern Methodist University, but we're also the fastest micropolitan community, growing faster than any other micropolitan community in the country. A micropolitan community is a community under 50,000 people, and we have been growing faster for the last several years than any place else in the country by about 3 to 4%. We're also very proud of our public art, and one of my priorities as mayor this next year is to propose a municipal 1% for art ordinance to integrate more public art into the new city construction. And those of you that know me know I've been talking about this for some time, and this year we're going to do it. So I'm really excited about that. Another ordinance that we have in Bozeman is a Montana Artisan Manufacturing Ordinance, and this is an ordinance that businesses can where they can actually make and sell products right in their own environment. And we have we did this ordinance because we had some businesses that wanted to do that right on our main street, and so now we have that ordinance in Montana, in Bozeman, and it's been very successful. But none of these outcomes would be possible without a strong population of independent artists and performers and entrepreneurs. They are the backbone of our creative economy. Recognizing that creating a sustainable life as an artist can be challenging, the Montana Arts Council provides a program which we call the Montana Artrapreneur Program. The Montana Entrepreneur Program, or MAP as we call it, is a small business development program for visual artists taught by working artists. It includes over 40 hours of college-level training and business coaching to help participants develop a business toolbox and profitable practices for marketing and packaging and selling their work. More than 460 artists have participated in the MAP program. The majority of them are sole proprietors living in rural communities or on tribal lands. Our MAP program is featured in the National Governors Association report that Chairman Carter mentioned earlier. Those artists who complete all of the requirements receive a certificate of market readiness. What's really impressive about this, I think, is the effects that we have seen through a formal evaluation process. Certificate holders saw an average increase of 649% in net sales after participating in the MAP program. Their outside sales, outside the state of Montana, grew by an average of 87%. So to be able to offer a program like this is so rewarding. We have seen how it generates income for Montana families and fosters economic independence for rural folks. Clearly, the arts is a case in point for Montana's #1 ranking as a state for successful entrepreneurs. Montana Entrepreneur Program is just one of the many ways that the Arts Council helps rural communities. 66% of our grant awards are invested in rural areas. Our educational programs enable Montana kids to develop the imagination, the team building skills, and the persistence needed to enter the Montana workforce. 54% of Montana schools have less than 100 students, and their resources are very limited. So support from the Montana Arts Council is critical in integrating the arts into the classroom. We know that it boosts academic achievement, reduces dropout rates, and gives kids those critical thinking and communication skills they need to compete in the job market of the future. Our Montana Arts Council investments are grounded in what we call the 3 R's: relationships, relevance, and return on investment. And when those principles align, particularly in rural communities, the effects are palpable. They drive community engagement, which leverages additional financial support. This enables our rural grantees to match our public funds with private and local support. And we've had tremendous success. For every dollar the Montana Arts Council invests in our rural grantees, they secure an additional $55 in leveraged match, which I think is a really good bang for your buck. Over the years, the Montana Arts Council has joined with the Montana Office of Tourism, the Department of Commerce, and a variety of foundations to increase our resources through the public-private partnerships. We've also tapped into the USDA funding through the Economic Development Authority. So the eligibility of arts and creative placemaking programs for those federal programs are also very important to us. But our most important federal partner is the National Endowment for the Arts. When the Montana Arts Council combines the funds we receive from the state of Montana with our partnership dollars from the NEA, we are able to reach so many more communities that we otherwise couldn't. NEA support is especially helpful in our arts education programs to reach our underserved population, areas that are geographically isolated, our tribal communities, low-income populations, and people with disabilities who we know are disproportionately concentrated in rural America. There's no doubt in my mind that Montanans appreciate the National Endowment for the Arts, not only because their staff are such great working partners, but also because of the tangible impacts of federal funding that I have seen on the lives and the livelihoods of those in rural communities. I hope you all have an opportunity to visit Montana someday. To borrow a phrase from my tourism days, Montana has some of the most spectacular unspoiled nature in the lower 48. It's that unspoiled nature that calls loudly to those who seek adventure. But it's also that unspoiled nature that quietly nurtures the creative soul. The creative souls of people like Ivan Doig, who write about places in White Sulphur Springs, like Philip Auberg, the musician who grew up and worked in Chester, a little teeny town in the middle of Montana. Russell Chatham, famous artist from Livingston. Kevin Redstar, grew up on the Crow Reservation. Thomas McGuane, little town called McLeod. Rudy Audio, famous ceramist. All of these folks were nurtured by this unspoiled beauty. So I hope that you will come to Montana and be inspired. I would love to share it with you. And thanks again for letting me share a little bit of Montana with you today.